Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing well. I am doing something a bit different. In this video, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite albums of the year so far. An album that has just really blown me away and really taken me, and I felt really inspired to do a video where I talk about this in a lot more depth than I usually do in other Vinyl Finds videos. It's a record that just keeps growing and growing on me, and I keep hearing more things, and I'm just feeling really inspired by it. So I'm going to do sort of a review. It's not really a review, but just my thoughts about it. So I'm going to sort of split this into sort of three parts. I'm going to talk about who the artist is and the record that's been put out. I'm going to talk about what the album sounds like and what I hear out of it and stuff like that. And then in the third part, I'm going to sort of talk about why I like it, why I want to recommend it to you, why I think it's so different, and I guess ultimately why it's probably going to be my favorite album of 2019, really. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so if you haven't guessed by the title already, this is the album here by Sarathy Korwar. The album's called More Arriving. It came out this year, 2019, on the Leaf label. Now, I was familiar with Sarathy through his album that came out last year, which is called My East Is Your West. And that album is very different to this one, and I'll explain why in a bit. But that's the album where I first recognized his name. And that album is, I guess, a lot more spiritual jazz and Indian fusion focused in a really interesting way. You know, sounds like bits of Matthew Halsall and the Gone Wildland thing, but mixed really well with really strong Indian ragas and rhythms and sounds, and it's really lush and really deep. And I really enjoy that record, but comparative to this next one, I think it's a massive step above in a different direction. So that's where I first heard of him. He did have an album in 2016, which he put out with support from the Steve Reed Foundation, which I will admit I have not heard that record yet, but I'm now really keen to go back and check that out. He was born in the US very young, but actually grew up in India, where he first, you know, as he got into his teens, he started hearing the sounds of John Coltrane and Ahmad Jamal. And then he moved to the UK and got really, London specifically, and really integrated himself there. And he's sort of been circling around this UK jazz scene that's sort of been happening in the past couple of years. He's worked with people like Moses Boyd, Shabaka Hutchings, The Comet Is Coming, done work with Ill Considered. So in terms of how he slots in, just in 2019 specifically, he's sort of around that, but the stuff he's putting out definitely has more of a an Indian twist on it, I guess you would say. But yeah, so I guess that's where he's at now. So 2019, this is his third record, and it's his second proper solo record, and as you can see, it's called More Arriving. So if that's not a hint, and the album cover's not a hint, this is going to get very political. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to talk about what this sounds like, what I hear out of it. Just as a spoiler, I'm going to be raving about this.
Ballerina chopped off, place a banger man. Dance, monkey dance, to the music, to the snake drama. I'm Karma, I'm Kama Sutra. I am hit the honey, what they are, and everyone's killing.
A mango into bar, and barman go, why the long mango? Snap though, which races do you want on your banknote? Give you default sitar solo, aka Indian banjo. Elections, gotta hang low. This guy's telling me to go home. What does your sat-nav show? Are you indigenous though? If not, you better be vigilant, bro.
All right, those lyrics, those lyrics are from the song or the track called Mango, and that is the song or the track that really caught my attention, just on the lyrical detail and the really clever lyrics. I'm going to go through the album in more of an order, but I just think there's something in those lyrics that is so powerful. Just the play on words around mango and the relationship with Indian culture, and mango and the play on more arriving. There's lots of things there. There was lyrics about gotta hang low, as in low hanging fruit, mango. There's so much detail. That's a snapshot of the lyrics of that song, but hints of what it's like, British culture, about sat nav and Indian taxi drivers, and mangoes into a bar is a very English joke. That's just a snapshot. There's so many details in that song and the lyrics that the more you hear, the more you understand. And I think they're really unique and really individual. But I just wanted to give you a little snapshot of those lyrics. I think they're very clever, and hopefully they give you more of a picture of the album as a whole. But so what we'll do is we'll go back to the beginning and talk about it. It's hard to describe what this sounds like as a total. I guess for me, the thing I noticed first was almost conceptually, this starts off with a really big, bold opening 2 tracks. They sound really live and bustling. There's sort of a mixture of I guess spiritual jazz, hip hop, and specifically Mumbai rap, which is sort of a subgenre of hip hop, and I think it's very popular in India. Bollywood rhythms, big beats. As I mentioned previously, stuff that reminds me of Gondwanaland and Matthew Halsall, stuff like that. But they're both really action packed, and they sound very modern. And when I close my eyes, I think of like bustling cities and noises and rhythms, and the second track specifically, or is it the third track, talks about cocaine being run by the CIA. It really throws you off on a loop, because I didn't expect such a hip-hop influenced, I guess the first 10-15 minutes being quite like that, but it's which I think is great, because it's like such, obviously that music is very popular within India culture, and it's really bringing that into a jazz context, which I really love. And as the album progresses, we get into, I guess, more powerful, more spiritual jazz. There's some really aggressive sounds, and it ends up towards the end getting very introspective and almost, in a meditative vein, a vein that's very, I guess, spiritual, and it ends on a really uplifting, beautiful note. There's some really wonderful lyrics about, love and hope, and looking into a child's eyes and seeing hope. And it sort of goes, I guess, from a really big, loud place, and works its way through a series of styles and emotions, and ends up in this really lovely, I think the last track has, I guess, I don't know, traditional Indian singing in Hindi, that is just so beautiful, and so it sounds very holy. So as a piece of music, it's really transcendental, and a real journey to listen to, which I think is really great. Again, I'll go back to the track Mango, because it's basically, this album has overlying hints of what it's like to be an Indian, or even a Muslim, or an immigrant, more broadly speaking, I suppose, in London or the UK today. What is it like to be, seen as an immigrant and an outsider, even though, Indian culture has been in the UK for, 70, 80, 100 years now? At what point is it not already integrated? People, there's lyrics about, just things that are seen as so British but have been around, you know, forever, and are actually part of Indian culture. And you know, why you know, it's just a very really unique perspective, and it's a unique perspective that you never see brought into contemporary music, or specifically jazz. You know, it just really highlights racism still going on, and I guess a different viewpoint from that you don't see very often, I guess, in jazz music, and specifically contemporary music. It's just in terms of the sound palette and the textures, it's so beautifully composed. There's so much going on. Bits remind me of a slightly more Indian focused fire orchestra in parts. Just really clever, really self-aware, beautiful. I mean, there's parts that really get into free jazz spiritual territory, big sounds, really deep bass guitar, and just squalling saxophones. There's really light, beautiful moments with really clever lyrics. It really has everything in it, and I think it's a really special record. But I mean, hopefully that sort of gives you a bit of a idea of the sound. I might read you a couple of the reviews. I mean, Giles Peterson says, one of the best things we've been able to play on the radio for a long time. Korwar's rhythmically intense, entrancing vision adds a whole new spin to the Indo-jazz continuum. You know, it is Indo-jazz, but I love that it's not just that, and it's also got elements of hip-hop in it, and rap, and even, you know, bits of hip-hop production in there. Korwar takes in the political and radical history of jazz as a voice of the disenfranchised, and applies it to the Indian diaspora experience in contemporary Britain. That nails it. That's exactly, you know, that is why it's so unique to me. No one else is doing that. I don't think no one else has done that, as far as I know, in recent years, for sure. And a timely soundtrack to these divisive times. So, yeah. All right, that's probably enough about the sound. I'm going to tell you about what I get out of it and why I think you guys should buy it. Okay, this is the last section, although I'm probably going to repeat myself quite a few times. You know, with a lot of the UK jazz coming out at the moment, and I'm even going to talk about, I guess, his album before this I just mentioned. It's really great, and there's covers of The Creator Has a Master Plan and Journey and Satchinanda and stuff like that. They're really good, but they don't have a unique voice for me, or they don't have something that catches me straight away, where I was listening to this and I was in the shower, believe it or not, and it caught me straight away, and I found it so unique and so refreshing, and I think it's definitely one of my favorites of the year, and I think it's a really important release, even politically, and because it's so of its time. It's an absolutely 2019 record, absolutely bleeding edge in terms of politics and immigration and racism and the world we live in now. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a perfect viewpoint that we don't really hear about. But I think it's unique because it definitely has a voice, and it has a unique angle and a unique style that I don't hear very often. And that's why I love it. And even though I am a privileged middle class white guy in New Zealand, the voice and the stuff that he's saying, I can understand and I can hear, and I can sort of interpret and process his viewpoints, and see. Not that I couldn't already, but you can really understand what it's like, I guess. And it sounds like the life that people are living in the UK, and in a sad way, it makes you think, and that's what music should do. It makes you question, and there's just not enough music these days that can do that, that can have that power. So that's why I think it's a special record. That's why I think it will be in one of my top records for sure. But yeah, please do check it out. There is a mini documentary about the album, which I'll post a link to below. Let me know what you think to the album if you've heard it, or please check it out. Yeah, so there we go. Hope you enjoyed. All right, cheers guys, thanks for watching. I'll be back soon.